So,
Thank you.
hi, Angela. Good morning to you since you're in Australia and it's your evening in the US. But thank you so much for taking time to talk to me today. And how are you doing?
Very good. Thank you. Hi, Swati. Thank you so much for the invitation. And thank you so much for doing really inspiring work. It's really amazing. Thank you so
What is
much.
this counting? What is that
I have
counting?
to open the candy for this little one.
Very cute.
Okay, there you go. Go
Very
explore.
cute.
So I wanted to talk to you a little bit about what you're doing currently, and I know you're one of the women leaders in the analytics space in Australia. You have won many awards, and you're passionate about ethics in AI. So, talk to me a little bit about your career journey and how you came to do what you're doing currently.
Thank you, Swati. That's very nice of you to say that. Well, to be honest, I've been so lucky. I was very lucky to meet great people, so lucky to meeting really nice people and great team. And, maybe that, starting from when I migrated to Australia with my parents when I was in high school, I
Mm-hmm.
met great teachers and professors who led me all the way until where I
How
am.
do you open?
And when I was studying mathematics, I really fell in love with mathematics because the teachers are really great. So they told me about the mathematics. It's not actually memorizing or drilling. It's more of understanding how that equation works, and that's really highly linked to what I do these days: data science and analytics, and creating algorithms and so after even university, I was, contemplating becoming actuary, but somehow I realized there's more than that behind the world. So I tried to really explore, what does that data means, right? What does this all these different tools? How can we use data? And I could see from the university time, I was very interested in using data and insights and actually helping people in terms of, how can it contribute to the improving the economic, situation and, really relieving some pain points for the people. So when I was working as an intern at this one of the biggest the bank in Australia, Commonwealth Bank, I met great, statisticians, advanced, statisticians, and they really, opened the eyes for me in terms of, really data science and what it can do. So
Right.
I worked on, banking industry and insurance industry
Mm-hmm.
alternatively, and I tried to learn more about, how can I improve, my, skill and, capability, and how can we work, with a team to improve solving the problems for the customer and for the business. And then nicely linked to the AI ethical, the problems and the issues, because the more people really use the automated systems and automated algorithm and models and predictive models, the consequences can be really unintended sometimes, and due to the bias. So the bias in the
Right.
data and bias in the algorithm and the models and the biased outcome. And sometimes it really serves people unexpectedly. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes the consequences is you can't turn the clock back. It's quite bad. And sometimes you're talking about those, human lives.
Right.
And
Right.
that's why I got involved into global, the
Mm-hmm.
tank women in AI based in Paris. And
Mm-hmm.
also I work closely with the ladies in based in San Francisco, the women in AI ethics as well. And
Mm-hmm.
also I work with Springer, the ethics board, and
Mm-hmm.
ethics policy exchange at the university in India, because there are so many professionals. They really try to come together and collaborate, because by yourself you can't do anything, but with the collective the ideas, there's so much you can achieve. And so lucky to get involved a lot of great project and initiatives. And through Women in AI especially, I work for the
Right.
education the initiatives.
Mm-hmm.
So I really try to outreach the less privileged the area high school
Mm-hmm.
students, and also First Nations, community, because they are the people who really need support and increase the capability in AI, and especially females as well.
Wow,
So
that's
that's
a lot to cover. So talk to me a little bit about what you studied in university and how it translated to your career, and what is your current role, that are you still working at the bank? I noticed you're working at the Teachers Association as well.
yes, yes.
So what did you study in university and how did you translate into your career?
Yeah, I love that question, Swati. Thanks for asking. So, I studied actually applied finance and mathematics, which means, I did, financial modeling, but I didn't realize, how much, the actual capability can bring out. But it was the quantitative, the mathematics part that was interesting because it wasn't pure mathematics. It was really applied mathematics, and you do a bit of coding as well, and you can create the formula. I think the algorithm, the creating the formula to understand the data and the patterns, that was most really fascinating part for me. I really liked it. Again, that's really due to contributed to the fact that my teachers, when I was learning, when I was in high school, I really enjoyed learning it because it was never like felt like a task, right? And I'm working currently at Teachers Health. Obviously you can see that, I realized that, there's some area I can contribute, to improve teachers, using the health, product. And it's again, insurance product. And it's great because the organization itself, we are really for teachers. So everything we do, we try to help teachers, and especially with the COVID, the pandemic situation, teachers are again, apart from medical staff, who's at the frontier and selflessly giving their time and their effort, to really teach the students the future of our the future of our generation, right? So I think it's quite meaningful, and I feel like it's privilege actually to really work in the particular sector to make a change, positive change.
That's amazing. Yeah, you're based out of Sydney in Australia, but I think the pandemic has impacted everybody. And
Mm.
I appreciate all the things you're doing for the education sector. So, how did you meander into the world of ethics and AI? Because I know not all
Mhm.
data scientists are deeply involved in ethical AI, but
Mhm.
how did you first start getting involved in that side? Was it at the bank or was it a particular incident? What made you get into that
Mhm.
evaluation of ethics and AI?
Great question, Swati. I do like that kind of question, especially I really appreciate you actually want to really talk about, the ethics in AI, because there are two streams of the perspectives when you talk about the ethics of in AI. One is really legal and philosophical perspectives, and it's policy making, how to manage, and the other part is from technologist view. Um, I think it's my personal view. It's getting better, but there's still gap in between technological view and the philosophical and policy making legal view. These should come together because the part is alone itself. We have two separate lenses, and one each lenses can't really interpret everything the way we understand, AI and the bias and ethical component of AI, because it should be overlap. And the common denominator and the mutually inclusive area is where you can have a clear view. That's where, oh, because of this is needed, because it will be never complete to understand what's in a bias in this particular AI system, automated system, and the models we built without, just solely just, philosophical view or legal, policy making view or technological view. And the reason why, how I really got into this area is about 6 years ago. I was working on this project at the bank, and I was working at the innovation hub. So we are told to look at the mortgage application process and try to build a model, try to understand the mortgage, the processes, the ethical behavior. And I was really fascinated about, try to understand different, features, attributes actually, bring out different, outcome in terms of, whether it's ethical or unethical. And that part, while I was working on the project, I really realized it's good because a lot of AI, the programs becoming, much more, automated, and there are more different kind of, machine learning algorithms, practically, available. But understanding how all these features working is almost like black box. And especially when you try to share the outcome and how the model works, and as a result, what needs to be really, done in the working environment, not everyone can understand. So I really realized that it's we really need to foster more explainable AI, and which, because because if you don't understand, then how can you expect people to apply that learning on what they are doing? Because if you can't get the buy-in from that way, right? So Swati, that's how I really try to get into how can we really create more transparent and explainable AI. And luckily there's similar voices popping up here
Mhm.
and there globally,
Right,
and a
right.
lot of companies, actually software, the providers, and a lot of organizations have tried to focus, and even researchers, and try to understand how to create really explainable AI. And it
Mhm.
was great because Google and Microsoft, all these guys, Salesforce, they come up with pair, and also good ethical framework, and try to really break down the algorithm and try to show and try to share how can we make more transparent and explainable AI, not just technological people can understand, but broadly other people can understand as well. So that was how I was getting involved into different projects globally, and try to start to working on ethical AI, area.
Thank you. That was so interesting. Yeah, I can see the passion you have. I know you are involved with Lighthouse 3 also for ethics and AI
Yeah.
think tank. So, what are some of the things you have been observing based on your work in ethics and AI? What are some of the trends? Have you seen something different in 2020? What are some of the things that are standing out for you?
Well, thank you for sharing that question. I like that question too. It's good. It's good because in 2020, especially Microsoft, they released the Fair Learn algorithm, and tried to encourage developers and people to use really explainable AI and fair algorithm practice, which is great to see, because I really believe tech giants, they are responsible to foster ethical AI ecosystem. It's not like optional. It's a really mandatory, because they are the ones who need to really foster and help people if they want to whether researchers or people working in the ethic AI area, how to
Mhm.
really supplement and really support them to
Right.
really create ethical AI environment, right? So the
Mhm.
one I've noticed, a lot of tech giants are doing really great things, right? They are
Mhm.
really putting their effort. But my hope is, I want them to really genuinely, not just ticking off the box, right? But genuinely supporting, going the beyond and above, to really help
Mhm.
people to embed the ethical AI in the community and for the citizens, and have a more forums
Mhm.
available, so that not just the people who are working in the industry, but the people, the laymen, the normal people, average people who's now working in the AI or technology area, can really understand when they are using the product based on AI algorithm. They should clearly know what they are consenting for. It's
Mhm.
so complicated at the moment. It's not easy. So
Correct.
almost like I'm really encouraging, how when you go to supermarket, right, and you see a product at the back, there's clear nutrition breakdown. You are
Correct.
this product has protein 5%,
Mm.
fat 1%, sugar, because you are conscious about what you are taking into your body. Same thing applies to your especially youth people and vulnerable
Mhm.
people, senior citizens, they're not savvy. They have no idea sometimes
Mhm.
what they are really concentrating. They are just, rushing because time
Right.
is, really they don't have time to decide, and they don't have information to make a more informative decision either, right? So
Correct.
it's a really our responsibility to really encourage. It has
Mhm.
to be very easy. It has to be okay. These factors attributed and created based on this, algorithm to create this product. So if you are going to use this one, this are impacting you, and are you
Mhm.
happy with that? It has to be very clear, and I'm hoping to see that in 2021 because
Mhm.
another great friend of mine, we are really brainstorming about, working on that project. How can we make a very clear, very simple, transparent, ethical AI that goes
Mhm.
with, technology, the tools and product. So looking forward to see 2021 with more great, ethical AI, conversation happening,
Right.
and make it more accessible to everyone, to people like, for example, the people in the community. They're at lunchtime, they can really go into some, some forums online or whichever, they want to. And if they're curious about any privacy governance of, AI and algorithm, because they don't know about, oh, I don't have enough information, the
Mhm.
knowledge education should be accessible to everyone, not just a
Correct.
special one core to people. So I'd like to see that happening more often. And the positive side is, I think more and more people are voicing up, like Swathi yourself. You are, selflessly giving your time, creating this kind of a channel and try to share with people. That's, I
Mhm.
think that's an amazing thing to do, because people like you, I think it's moving forward and try to
Mhm.
foster positive, ethical AI ecosystem.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I think we think alike. I think it has to be more accessible, the information to the general public. That's my crusade as well. And interestingly enough, I had the honor to participate in the ethical AI framework for the US government since I'm based out of Washington, D.C. I was curious to know, is Australian government looking at anything with ethics and AI frameworks or any other AI playbooks?
Yes, thank you. Thanks for asking that question. It's very rightly asked because
Mhm.
incidentally, on last Friday, I've submitted this proposal paper for AI policy making, especially on ethical
Mhm.
side, for Australian government. So Australian government is really trying to really understand what,
Mhm.
where they are, really positioned, right?
Mhm.
I can't say necessarily Australia is at the frontier in terms of AI policy, the making or governance or even strategy, right?
Mhm.
But we are, as a nation, working really hard because we have a great professionals in academic, area, and
Mhm.
also we have, great the professionals, who worked in US but
Mhm.
came, back to Australia and try
Right.
to really foster, great, AI, culture, in, for the government and for the, the nation. So the movement is there. So we released the first AI, the national AI strategy about last year.
Mhm.
And since then, frequently really asking and consulting all the relevant bodies of AI and AI ethical, the organization, try to really bring the best practice and try to find out, how to partner with the global the leading organization. For
Mhm.
example, World Economic Forum, AI team, and try to partner and try to, co-drive the project to really understand what's AI,
Mhm.
the strategy and playbook, and what are the drivers, and what's the ecosystem like, and what does that mean, what does it really mean ethical AI, and to
Mhm.
foster it, what needs to be done, right? So a
Correct.
lot of effort is really happening. And in terms of ethical AI, um, during pandemic, I think the global connection became closer because
Right.
not only people has to travel, right? So only the great advantages thing happened during pandemic is borderless,
I
attending.
observed that too. I feel that I was very grateful for the opportunities during the pandemic because
Mm,
you're very right. It brought everybody closer because you don't need to travel, and meeting people like virtually has become the norm. So
yes.
it's now more easier to connect with everybody.
That's right, Swati, you're right because we have a young family and especially working mom and
Mm-hmm,
not let alone the financial commitment. It's so hard to travel because I remember I was in US last year 5 weeks,
mm-hmm.
and then it impacted so much for my family.
Family, yeah,
Oh, it was so hard.
absolutely, yeah.
And you're right, it's because of that. And that's great because that gives more, I think I call it AI, benefit equality, right?
Mm-hmm,
Because the other part I want to kind of, lightly touch on is there are AI leading countries, right?
mm-hmm,
So some particular countries like US and Canada and EU area are
mm-hmm,
really leading the AI practice. The the problem with that is if the gap between the
mm-hmm,
AI capability becomes bigger depending on the countries, then
mm-hmm.
it becomes the same matter as we are looking at education, clean water.
Correct.
All
Mm-hmm.
the basics should be equally distributed because it's like it's like human right almost, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the AI should be interpreted similar way because it's the capability and the how much AI can impact on the business becomes beyond our imagination, which means if the country is falling behind due to AI capability now,
Mm-hmm.
if the gaps become too big, it's almost
Mm-hmm.
hard to catch up. And it is really it's not fair, right? So
Correct.
that's why a lot of people we are talking about how to really increase AI capability in the APEC area and how about in Africa. So I am really conscious about that movement and try to talk to people in US and EU. And when we do this project, how about we include diversity and inclusion? How about we include some APEC countries that
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Eastern Asia, part,
Absolutely.
and also
Absolutely.
Africa as well, because you don't
Africa.
want
Mm-hmm.
them to fall
Mm-hmm.
behind. So that
Mm-hmm.
because the same capability should be given, then that's why the Women in AI, what we are doing is really amazing because we are really empowering females, and we are really trying to support more the vulnerable, less privileged the area of countries, and try to really bring the power and the people, the women, so how they can really make a movement in that particular country.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why we came together as both of us being part of Women in AI. So,
That's right.
on that note, Angela, thank you so much for your time. And I'm sure we'll keep in touch as we both are involved in Women in AI. And good luck to all your projects. And really happy to speak to you today. And have a wonderful day.
Thank you so much, Swati. Pleasure is entirely mine. Thank you so much for the opportunity, and continue doing great job. And all the best to you. And talk to you
Thank
soon.
you. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Okay. Take care now.
Thank you.